Welcome back everyone to the Britball YouTube channel. We are carrying on our position series for the draft. Today we're doing corners. Just before we get into it, I think this is one of the hardest positions to judge unless there's a consensus number one, which there pretty much is in this case. But when you differentiate that sort of 3 to 5 range, it can get to personal biases. It's very hard to judge. And we've come out of our top 5 today. It's probably a little bit controversial, maybe. But let us know what you guys think. Before we get into the video, we would like to play
the 5th.
Yeah.
If you do enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It will mean the world to us. It is free. It takes not even a second of your time. And just a click of a button will make our day, honestly.
So, going into it now. Number 1, we have Patrick Surtain. Of course. Do you want to cover him?
No, you can go for him.
Okay, so Patrick Surtain. He is a pretty well-rounded prospect, and that is why he's the pretty much consensus, number 1. And watching his tape, you can see he's a big hitter and also very, very active hands, whether that be on the deep ball, whether it be on the slant. He's always getting in people's faces and probably extremely annoying to play against. He also has a really long frame and he plays, well, he's already 6'2", but his limbs look a lot bigger. I don't know what it is with Alabama and long people, but you can see him on the deep ball. He is jumping higher than everyone against any receiver. And he also kind of got a bit of a reputation throughout his college years, and in his last season he was rarely targeted. In the national championship game, they didn't use his side at all. Justin Fields was scared to throw to him. And that reputation is very, very good. And he also has good speed. Not the best, maybe, but closing speed is still very good. And his 2020 stats, he also did get higher interceptions in other seasons, but this season, 37 tackles, 3.5 for a loss, 1 interception. He also got higher stats in other years, but we are just saying this is his year where he become that lockdown guy. People didn't throw to him. And do you want to go through the cons?
Davius White of college.
Yeah.
Not targeted. In terms of cons, I don't know if it's a bit of late reactions or if it's the third point, which is speed. Is that as soon as the ball is snapped, he isn't the quickest person on the field to make a move. It could be speed, it could be late reactions. They probably go hand in hand. And then he can be beaten by pump fakes. As soon as that ball, he tries to anticipate and tries to read the quarterback minds before the quarterback has even made up his mind. So it's a 50-50, and sometimes does cost him. The ball, he fakes left, goes right, and he follows it. In terms of pro readiness, he is the most pro ready corner in this draft, without a shadow of a doubt, at 8 out of 10. Potential landing spots, I think everyone's mock draft has them going to the Cowboys. If the Cowboys take another corner out, he'll probably go to the Broncos if they don't take a quarterback. But I've seen a few where the Falcons take a corner as high as 4th in the draft, so that is a bit of a stretch. I personally don't believe. I think they're either going to go to a quarterback or they're going to trade out a 4th position where someone will. But they could take it. There is a need for them, so it'll be interesting to see. But personally, I'm not buying it. I'm buying the Cowboys hype.
And on number 2,
JC Horn. This is another person who has come flying up recently, in which
big time.
He wasn't even, some people's top 5, and then he was top 5, and now he's second. It's either those around who haven't done well, or I think it's mainly just because you give credit where credit is due. This guy's incredible. As a corner, he is very, very good at blitz, a cornerback blitz on the quarterback. He does it better than anyone
all
else.
Over his tape.
He's incredibly feisty as well. He gets hyped whenever he does a big play, whether it's the blitzing or if it's a big play downfield. He is feisty as anything, and he will not take any prisoners. In terms of eyeing the ball, it's always on there. He's not watching the receiver. He's always watching the ball. As quite a few corners, as soon as the ball is thrown, the extra 2 yards or whatever to catch up to the receiver, he's explosive when he does that. He defends the run when he needs to down the field. You know, he's not afraid. He's a big hitter. So
he gets down and dirty.
Yeah, he does.
Time.
That goes hand in hand with his feistiness. And in terms of college stats in his best year, we think it's 2019. 40 tackles for loss, 2 picks and 9 passes defended in just 12 games. That is fairly impressive. In terms of cons,
yeah. So one of the things, he doesn't really secure tackles in the backfield as much. You have seen some plays where people can get loose off of him if they beat him, but it's not a big con. I think like he can fix that easily. It's not something you can't fix. But one thing that might not be able to fix is his reactions in zone. He's really good in man, physical, handsy in man, but zone he can be a bit late to read some complex routes, especially if they're going across into his zone. He's a bit late to cover and he can get beat that way, and people can take advantage of that. But if he gets a good coach, it's always something that can be fixed really. And his pro readiness, we've ranked him at 7.5 out of 10. He's really got a lot of good abilities, and I think a team that takes him can take advantage of his blitz ability, can take advantage in a lot of ways, and he can be a really good tool. Potential landing spots, we've gone for quite a little bit of spectrum in that midfield of the draft, you know, like 10 to 25 kind of in the draft. Yeah, he's definitely a first rounder. It'd be interesting to see where it goes, but we definitely think it'll be one of these teams. It could really be the Broncos at this rate. That's what we've mocked a few times, but yeah, I guess we'll see. Number 3, Caleb Fairley. Am I covering him? Yeah. So this was the consensus number 2 for a while. 100%. Even some people had him number 1. Some people might still have him number 2. But people have been selling his stock, and maybe for good reason. But the pros on him, he is probably the fastest guy in this class of cornerbacks. He could hang around with any wide receiver, even at the NFL level. Maybe not Tyreek Hill, but pretty much everyone else. Coming on with that speed, he's also very physical, whether that's for good or bad, but most of the time it is for good. Some of the times he does bump into receivers when we're watching his tape, and that causes separation, but yeah. He is very explosive, also very disciplined. He doesn't get flagged a lot at all, only for the time I mentioned bumping into receivers. And he's very good against the run, and the ball skills are really there. He catches some ridiculous catches, like diving, nearly one-handers, but he grabs them and slings it in. And he's good at zone, got the length at 6'2", and yeah, I'll let you run through the cons.
Yeah, cons 1 and 3 kind of go hand in hand. Is that he does bite on inside moves. When the receiver runs infield, he will do it without any thought in the world, and then the receiver runs back outside, and he's probably the receiver's got an extra couple of yards separation distance, and that does coincide with his bad route reading. It's something that probably can be taught at NFL level, but it's not something that will happen straight away. It's something you need to work on, so he probably is more of a project than the rest of them. And in terms of when the ball is thrown to the receiver, he is more focused on the receiver than the ball. Sometimes that is necessary, but there is a time where you need to look up and see where the ball is, because even the receiver might miss it. So he does give up silly plays sometimes just because he doesn't open his eyes, doesn't get his head up, and you need to at this stage of the game. And that is why we think his pro readiness is not as high as the rest of them at 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's
some of the things he has that can't be taught are good, like the speed, the physicality, the length. But then the cons are pretty bad. They can be abused at the NFL level.
He is naturally an NFL player, but mentally he needs to work on it, I think, quite a bit in order for it to get up there. And we may think 5 out of 10, like, that's bang average. Maybe even just below bang average. It's quite bad. Being a corner is probably one of the hardest positions in the NFL to be pro-ready as soon as you're out of college. Look at Jeff Okudah and what he did last year. Not many corners come out of college and are hitting the ground into the NFL and hitting the ground running. It is very, very difficult when you're a corner.
On the short to medium passing game, he gets done by the complex routes, and then the long passing game we've seen on tape where he's staring at the guy too much, not looking at the ball. At the NFL level, all the receiver has to do is just jump up and pretend to catch the ball, pass interference straight away. So yeah, that's the thing with him.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Eric Stokes.
Eric
Now, this is a
Stokes.
guy that you're probably surprised
We
of,
love him.
and you
We love
haven't maybe heard as much about him as you say of Patrick Surtain. He's a very grey area between 3 and 5 because there is a lot of brilliant cornerbacks out there in college, but this is one who really took our eye. In terms of size and speed, he is incredible. He's ridiculously fast, approaching Caleb Farley levels. And what Caleb Farley can't do, he does get his head up and look at the ball when it's in the air. He will keep an eye on it as opposed to the receiver sometimes. Hands ability, brilliant, pushing off receivers or grabbing the ball when needed to. He's very, very safe with his hands, and probably a notoriously impressive pro that will always live in our hearts is that he's a very, very hard hitter, and that is what gives us. If you're a hard hitter, you hit us in the soft spot. To be honest, he doesn't take any prisoners. It's brilliant to see. Again, good closing burst of energy. Chloe gets the extra 2 yards that needed to make a night and day difference, and he does make an effort in defending the run down the field. And in terms of his best stats, again, like usual, it's 2019, 13 games, 38 tackles, 1 for loss, and 9 passes defended. No interceptions, but in previous years he has obviously got interceptions. In terms of cons,
Yeah, so the one bad thing about him, well, there's a couple, but one of the main bad things is he doesn't really control his hips that well. He can get turned into one direction, give up his shoulders a bit, and obviously receiver goes one way, he gives up his hips. All they have to do is just veer back the other way, and he's open. So yeah, that is one thing, but that's easily coached out of people, and that can be done in training camp really. As long as he keeps a watch on that, he's got all the traits. And then there is the grabby penalty issue. He's physical, like we said, and that's a bit of a cruel mistress. It is decent, a good trait to have. But then at the NFL level, if you get too grabby, obviously pass interference, you get done for holding too. And but nothing that can't be fixed. That is why we've got his pro readiness higher than Fairley or Caleb Farley, because we think he has the traits to really hit the ground running, and he could lock some guys down straight away. I mean, the physical nature of his game, he could definitely lock NFL receivers down. So yeah, we have him going sort of late first, early second, probably early second. We're really high on him, 100%.
Yeah, and there's a difference between readiness and ability-wise. We do think Caleb Farley is better in terms of that he's got the highest ceiling, or higher ceiling than Eric Stokes. But Eric Stokes is more, he will transition easier than Caleb Farley, whereas Caleb Farley, as long as he's got the right tools around him and the right mentor, he will be a better player, I think. And our 5th best prospect, again, probably someone you might not have heard too much about, Greg Newsom II out of Northwestern. Northwestern had a brilliant season this season just gone. Coverage ability, and he's feisty, he's very, very good at reading routes, quick transition again, if need to. He's very quick to read, instinctive ball skills. You've got a very talented person here, but there is a few cons which you'll get into, but it's as one that we haven't actually, I don't have put down, but I'll let you discuss it then. In terms of college stats, 2019 again, 8 games, 36 tackles, 1 for loss, 9 passes defended. There isn't that many pros, and he would explain why, but we actually think there is something about him that is very, not unique, but there's something special to him that he warrants to be this high up.
Well, one of the cons of him, of course, is his long playing speed. We've seen him rise up in the box, we've seen him rush up in the run game, in the short passing game. He can hit people, he makes them big height plays, but when it's long plays, he can get beat, whether that be on speed, whether that be contested catching. And one of the additional things is, does he play to that pro day speed, which might not be the correct speed at all, but does he even play to that speed on tape? Probably not. He's really liable to getting done deep, but he has had some really good games against good quarterbacks like Justin Fields. He had a huge game against Ohio where Fields threw, I think, the most interceptions in his college career in that game. And the one bad thing as well is his experience. He hasn't had a season over 8 games in his college career. It's all been 8 or 6 or I think 3 last year.
Something like that.
Well, no, I think it was 6 last year, but yeah. It's
really
worrying
poor.
lack of experience, and the opponents, like, it's a very small sample size of opponents. That can mean he's only playing like 1 or 2 good quarterbacks in his whole college career. So yeah, you've got to put.
That's what I was regarding to in the pros as well. Is like the reason he hasn't played that many games is because that's why you've hardly got any pros about him. We need a bigger sample with him.
Yeah, exactly. We need a bigger sample to really find the true depth of his game. So we have put him down as a 4 out of 10. He could be more ready than we know, but we're just going off what we see. And potential landing spots, we think this is a second round guy. Probably early second, maybe mid. But yeah, he should definitely be a good corner.
Out of all of them, I'd probably say Jacksonville or Jets would probably look at landing them. They both need corners, but he could even go mid. He could go first, we don't know.
Yeah, and definitely would have had you unless you signed AJ Bouye. So yeah, good stuff. That is our top 5, everyone. Don't hate on us too much for our love of Stokes, but yeah, we love him. Yeah. So that is our top 5, and that sums up probably all of our position series. We might do tackles, but we see closer on to the draft. And yeah, we really enjoyed doing this series. We put a lot of effort into it, so any support will be much appreciated as always. And yeah, if you've got anything to add?
No, that's it.
Alright, we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.